going on, Blossom is back, and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of what can you get from that pack. It's been a while since I actually did a video surrounding a final, and I think that's because this final was slated for last week, but due to the game being literally unplayable for some people, I myself included by the way, they decided to push the Tri-Series, an entire week. So we have it now here, and that also means that I'm going to be reviewing another Tri-Series final pack. Now, the pack in question today is the one that you need to open to get you the Radical prize car, and the cars included are, as you can see in guaranteed tags, 2020 to 24 medium ground clearance cars. So no ground clearance, no low ground clearance, no high ground clearance, just medium within those 4 years. Now, if I do sound a little bit different in this video, just to give you a small disclaimer, I am a little bit ill. I do hope I get better tomorrow because I have a very busy day tomorrow. I hope some good sleep will help. I already doused a little bit of, this good little health juice over here. It's just medicine. But anyway, let's get into today's video. Let's talk about how good these cars are in a Tri-Series sense. Alright, so it's been a while since we've done something like this, right? 2 separate tier lists, one that only judges the cars in a Tri-Series platform, and then another that judges the cars, in my personal opinion, in a general platform, right? So we're going to start off with just like, if you are only solely opening this pack for the Tri-Series, if you really want to win the Radical, if that is like your thing, what are going to be the most useful cars that you can unpack? Now, prize car winning, if no duplicates are allowed, 5 unique cars only, I would select these 5 right here. It's pretty heavy on the Porsches with the Cadillac Blackwing and the BMW i4. Now, with every single new update, there's always like 1 or 2 cars that is just that car. You know how like some guys are just that guy, like I'm just that guy, right? So the Cadillac Blackwing, it's that car. Right, for the 3rd Tri-Series in a row, this is going to be one of the most useful cars that you can get to help you win the prize car. It was the most useful car for the Yamera, most useful car for the Mazda, and now it seems that way for the Radical as well, which is just crazy. So that's the top 5. In terms of possible prize car winning, that includes things like the Hyundai Ioniq for like that one City Street medium track, which is the best in. But then again, the thing about the Ioniq is that it's good for that one track set, but what are you going to say for the other 3 track sets? You know what I mean? It's kind of competent on the fast circuit. I wouldn't really suggest putting it on a fast circuit though. There's also the 545E if you are able to max it out. The Cadillac CT5, which some people gave me some slack for saying that this car was like amazing. And like, look, there are many ways to look at a car in Top Drives. Like, I think it's amazing for its RQ. As an RQ68, I've always called it the American BMW M3 CSL. Granted, it's not actually better than the BMW M3 CSL, but it's nice to see that in an event like this, the Cadillac CT5V really has its opportunity to shine. It beats the Volvo V60 everywhere. I mean, on most track sets that are dry, it will beat the Volvo V60, and this is RQ68 versus RQ76. It really just goes to show how biased and how inflated a car can get in terms of RQ if it simply is a 4-wheel drive car. It's ridiculous. Some other cars that I think are going to be pretty decent for you include the BMW, as well as the Mazda 3 2.5 turbo all-wheel drive, and the Porsche Panamera. Some cars that might require an easier bracket but you might pull through would include these BMWs, well not these, just the BMW, the Volvo V60, the Bentley Flying Spur, and the Hyundai. Almost no chance includes like your weaker 4-wheel drive standard tire cars, some of your lower tier performance tire cars like the Cadillac CT4, the Panamera, and the Elantra. They are the best of the Ultra selections, but then again, they can't really hold the candle to the CT5V or the CT4V or even the legendaries, right? So almost no chance, but I feel like, maybe if you had a really good hand of 4 cars in prize car winning, you might be able to get through if you just ran one CT4V, right? As long as you have the win conditions. But yeah, almost no chance. It's possible, but I think it's pretty rare. And then go see a doctor as always. Like, if you win the Tri-Series with any of these cars, you either have the easiest bracket in the world or you're just incredibly lucky. I cannot see anybody winning the prize car of any of the cars over here, especially if they have 2 or more cars in this category. I just cannot see it. I really cannot. But anyway, guys, that is my personal tier list on how useful these cars are in that one sole Tri-Series. Let's let's see how useful the cars are in a general sense. Okay, so as always, we're now judging the cars outside of a Tri-Series. How useful are these cars if I just wanted to open the pack to get these cars for clubs or for the general multiplayer or, you know, challenges, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. As always, we've got the regular ranks that you always see in these videos as well. So here's the Ford Fiesta ST. I would say severely underperforming. I wouldn't say, bro, they made it the only option. Like, that basically goes to ranks where Hutch forces you to use a car. I would say that the Fiesta is just okay as an RQ50. The only reason why I wouldn't rank it higher is because it's the lowest in its, you know, rarity, right? Like, there's so many better options to use. I don't think it's terrible, but there are just better options to use. The Skoda Octavia is next, and of course, I must always say this every time I record these videos in this series, is this is all strictly my opinion. So if you have your own opinions, feel free to just comment down below as well. The Skoda Octavia, right? So this one comes next. I've had this car fully upgraded since the beginning of ENW because this was one of the first ever ultra rares I got in ENW, and it's been kind of useless for me. The only times I've used the Skoda Octavia is if the RQ limit is very low and there are not a lot of center tire cars to use. I need to use a four-wheel drive car. The only two times I remember using the Skoda Octavia is A, in that endurance challenge with 50 rounds, and B, during the ENW like challenges, like towards the start of the update. It wasn't even the trials, because I don't think they had a trials for that, but there were some ENW challenges that I kind of used the Skoda in, mainly because I didn't have a lot of ENW cars at the time. The Skoda was one of my first ones, so obviously I was going to use it, right? Because, you know, it's one of the few ultras I have from that update. So yeah, not very useful. I don't think it's useless. It has 87 handling, medium ground clearance, and four-wheel drive. In very niche wet situations, you might be able to use that Octavia, but then again, there are better Octavias to use. There are better Skodas to use. I mean, if you can use ideally a Skoda in the wet, I would try my best to go for the Enyaqs, right? But of course, those are standard. This is performance, so they operate in slightly different niches, but they do cross paths. Okay, next up, we've got the BMWs to talk about. The first one is going to be the 420i Coupe. I'm going to put that in for require some criteria. The main reason is because it's medium ground clearance. It's also a two-door coupe. There are not a lot of medium ground clearance two-door coupes in top drives. This one is also capable of hitting 90 handling, so I would say it requires some criteria because the niche that it operates in is still quite small compared to some other cars, some other niches you would find in top drives as a medium ground clearance two-door coupe. Now, moving on to the BMW 128i. This is, you know, again, you know, it gets 90 handling. It also considers itself as a hatch, I believe. I'm going to put it in severely underperforming though. I don't tend to use it that much. When it comes to medium ground clearance hatchbacks, I just tend to use like the Megans, for example. So the BMW is going to be severely underperforming. Now, the Mazda 6 Grand Touring, they made it the only option. I mean, I remember there was this one, I believe it was a Tri-Series, where the Mazda Grand Touring was actually very useful in, but that was because they literally made it the only option, like because it had a higher top speed than all the other cars in its pool. I can't remember what price car it was for, but it was really early on in what I believe is APGP, where this car was actually useful. And since then, I don't think I've used the Mazda 6 Grand Touring for anything else, so I'm gonna put it, bro, they made it the only option. Next up is the Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV. I'm gonna put that in severely underperforming. Maybe even requires some criteria, maybe somewhere low between requires some criteria or severely underperforming. The main reason for that is because for a four-wheel drive all-surface SUV, it actually handles quite well, and I will always prioritize handling when it comes to off-road or all-surface situations. That being said though, you know, all-surface tire cars are everywhere in the game now, and I don't know, it's a tough one. It's somewhere in between required some criteria and severely underperforming. I'm going to put it here for now, but I do recognize that it handles pretty well for its RQ. The Mini John Cooper Works goes up next, severely underperforming, again, alongside the Fiesta, the BMW, and the Mini. Like, I feel like they all kind of operate in the same niche. They're all kind of just on the lower end of things, and they're just better options to use, right? So for the Fiesta, for example, it's slightly better. You know, if you want to use a car that's slightly better, you can use the BMW. If you want a car that's slightly better, you know, there's the Mini. There's always a bigger fish, you know what I mean? So all these cars, they're kind of just little sardines, you know, maybe once a sardine and once a mackerel. I think mackerels are pretty small, right? But only the sharks and the barracudas maybe will be up and versatile or highly versatile, or the orca whales, right? Moving on, the Subaru Levorg VN. Yeah, this thing's fantastic, highly versatile, right? It handles incredibly well. it is still one of the few estate four-wheel drive center tire cars in the game, and this one handles incredibly well, as I said before. Medium ground clearance, it's just a very good car to use. I use it in clubs. I think I use it in clubs just as recent as yesterday, Japan times 5. Yes, I can finally play the game again. Started yesterday. The Ford Focus ST comes up next. Now this requires some criteria. So like I said, there's always a bigger fish, and the Ford Focus ST kind of excels in MRA. You know, I think if I remember correctly, I think it's like 76 MRA, 74 MRA, somewhere along those lines, and it's not that bad. That being said, again, there are still better options, right? I would still use a Renault Megane, for example, but it is better than the other cars that we've seen so far. Now, moving on to Jaguar XER Dynamic S, that's going to be severely underperforming. Back in the day, I think that car had like 87 or 88 MRA or something like that. Like, it used to be RQ64. It used to be wonderful, you know, one of the greatest new Ultras from Great Exhibition, and now it's RQ58. It's mid-range, and there's really not much it brings to the table. I think it got an MRA nerf, so it wasn't good as it used to be as well. I remember at one point it was actually a debate. It was a debatable and respectable question to actually drag spec the XER Dynamic S, but now I digress. It's a beautiful car, you know, it's a beautiful photo, but it doesn't bring much to the table. It's very similar in terms of the Skoda Octavia in what they provide. Moving on is a Cadillac Inner Space. Ooh, I'm going to say it requires some criteria for now. It was a very useful car for many players towards the beginning of American Overdrive. But now that American Overdrive is dying out and you see a lot less American Overdrive events, the Inner Space is getting more and more forgotten, right? So I think for now, I'm going to give it the respect that it deserves and put it under requires some criteria, because I understand that it has been very useful for many players. Not for me though, because I never unpacked it, but yes, I do understand that it was able to make an impact in American Overdrive events. But when you take it outside of American Overdrive, it's not going to be that useful anymore. Maybe Cadillac in clubs, because the ELR is not standard anymore. The Inner Space might be a pretty decent option to go for. But for now, I'm going to put it as a low requires some criteria. Moving on to Panamera, I'm going to put that in requires some criteria as well. I do use this car from time to time. It's registered as, I believe, a saloon. Medium ground clearance. It handles pretty well. I think 92 handling when you max it out. I do use it from time to time, especially because of that Porsche niche. There's not a lot of medium ground clearance ultra rare Porsches, right? So the Panamera is one of those cars that you can use. I think the other one is considered a prize car. I think it's the 911 2.7, I believe. But that one is a prize car, so not everybody has that. So the Panamera is a little bit more accessible to most players, and it's useful, I would say. The Elantra is a good one too. I would actually say it's versatile. It's pretty damn good. It has a low-ish 0 to 60. It handles pretty well. Medium ground clearance. It's also a saloon, just a slightly better version of the Porsche Panamera, if you asked me. The BMW 520d X-Drive Touring, 84 handling, 4-wheel drive and standard. It's not among the best standard tire cars in the game, but you can't really go wrong with 4-wheel drive standard. And of course, if it's an estate event in the wet, the 520d Touring would be a pretty decent option for you to have. The i4 as well is okay. I'm actually going to give it versatile. It was going to be really good, but then the Volvo came around. So the Volvo, like, this used to be the best hairpin Ultra in the game, but then the Volvo kind of took over. So I'm going to give the Volvo a highly versatile. It is the best in class for ultra wet hairpin. It does beat 4-wheel drives, which is very impressive. So I'm going to definitely put that in highly versatile. The BMW i4 just slightly below that. I think I've actually slandered on this car in the past, and I think a lot of people were saying like, oh, I was wrong for that, and the i4 was actually pretty decent. So I'm gonna put it in versatile now, but maybe you could also argue that this should be requires some criteria, and the EX30 requires goes down to versatile. But I'm gonna be lenient on those two for now. Moving on to the Chrysler Airflow, I'm gonna put this alongside the Inner Space. It was a decent car for American Frontier, no, American Overdrive, and I think it will remain being a decent car for American Overdrive. But if you take it out of American Overdrive, it's still a decent 4-wheel drive, medium ground clearance American ultra rare. It's the best. It's better than the Taurus in many cases. That being said, though, if you take it in the general standpoint, take American cars away, just compare it to all 4-wheel drive performance tire medium ground clearance cars in the game, then the Airflow kind of sits in the back seat, right? So I'm going to put that somewhere in the middle tier, in the mid tier. The 530e Saloon is terrible. I'm going to say, bro, they made it the only option I don't know why it's RQ63. I really do not know why. The CT4V is fantastic. I'm going to give it versatile. It's a slightly better version of the Elantra. The 420i X-Drive Coupe is going to be highly versatile as well. It handles fantastically, four-wheel drive and standard tires. It's just a all-in-all fantastic car. We have the BMW 330e Touring. Again, I'm going to put it with the 530e and just like, why is it that high in RQ? Way too expensive, but I never use it. The 300C Final Edition. It's a good 65. The problem is it's a 65. The MRA, right? It's like 91 MRA. It's a car, and it's actually pretty damn decent in the Tri Series for the 75 to 125 wet, if I remember correctly. One of the track sets where the Chrysler 300C is actually like the best epic to use. That being said, though, you know, it's a 65. No one's gonna want to upgrade it. It's severely underperforming. Honestly, if this thing was ultra rare, I'd bump it up to versatile, maybe highly versatile. But as an epic, the fact that it's so expensive to upgrade, unfortunately, severely underperforming. Mustang Mach-E, I'm gonna say low, requires some criteria, high, severely underperforming. The 0 to 60 is good. The 0 to 60 is low, right? For a four-wheel drive, all-surface tire car, it's quite impressive. It handles okay as well. I'm gonna say requires some criteria. Again, much like the Chrysler, they're both decent cars within their own RQ. The problem with those two cars, in my opinion, is just the RQ that they're in, 65 and 66. That's the issue there. As a 66, as a 65, those two cars are not bad, but it's because those RQs are just bad in general. That's why. The CT5V, I'm gonna say requires some criteria. It's fantastic. It's a great RQ bargain. If you can't use the M3 CSL, this is the way to go. You know, it's 98, 97 handling when you max it out. Medium ground clearance, saloon, 5-seater. Hey man, it's got a lot of things going for it. We've got the Volvo. Oh god, this thing is like trash. The Legacy BW requires some criteria. I don't think it's bad. I mean, obviously it was Blossom Choice back when it was an ultra rare, but I think, you know, unlike the Evos, the Legacy does deserve the RQ it has now. It's a pretty decent performer, you know. Again, the only thing weighing it back is that it's just so much more expensive to fully upgrade now, but it really isn't that bad of a car. The Subaru WRX S4 comes up next. I'm gonna say severely underperforming, mainly because there's just so many better Subarus to use. CT4, again, severely underperforming. The fact that I fully upgraded it at the start of American Overdrive, but, you know, the fact that I got the CT5, just kind of made me forget the CT4. The CT5 is better in every way. And, you know, rear-wheel drive standard, I say it time and time again, it's one of the most useless niches in the game. And, you know, you're only good in that niche if you are among the best. For example, the Maybachs at the drag, or the Caterhams with the twisties. The CT5 is great as a, you know, if you can only use standard tire 5-seaters. I'm thinking about the daily, because I actually use this in the 9 to 5 or the 5 to 9-seater daily, where it's dry and it's medium ground clearance needed because it's medium, City Street's medium that you need to put it on. The CT5 comes in useful. It comes in really, really clutch. But it will override the CT4 everywhere. So I'm going to put the CT5 in versatile, but the CT4 in severely underperforming. Then we have the BMW 530e. AC4 handling 4 drive standard. I mean, it has the same handling as the freaking ultra rare, dude. But the ultra rare is so much easier to fully upgrade. I'm gonna bump it down to severely underperforming. The Mazda 3 2.5 is a great one. You know, it handles incredibly well. AT9 4-wheel drive and standard. No complaints putting it in versatile. The 330D X-Drive Saloon, I'm gonna place that here with severely underperforming as well. V60 is terrible. I had 3 at one point and I fused 2 of them away. This Hyundai is decent. I'm going to say requires some criteria. The only reason why it's not higher on the list is because the Hyundai Ioniq 677 exists. And the Mazda 3 and the Hyundai are just both generally better than this Hyundai. I can't really see it. I forgot to crop that screenshot. As you can see, I'm not taking screenshots from Top Drives Clubs anymore, because every time I take a screenshot, I mean, I save images from Top Drives Clubs, I always tend to just forget a car. And that's because Top Drive's clubs just always tends to forget a car. So I'm just like, all right, I'm not gonna use that anymore. I'm just gonna take screenshots of my own account, you know, buy my own Top Drive's Hutch filters. So that way I'll probably never forget a car. It'll be fun if I still forget a car though. CT4 Blackwing, yeah, dude, highly versatile. This thing is amazing. I've talked about it so many times. 530D X-Drive Touring, ooh, yeah, it's gonna be here too, isn't it? 530D X-Drive is a little bit better. I'm gonna put that alongside the Hyundai something 77, I think. They're both decent, just that they're not as good as the Mazda or the Hyundai in my opinion. Now moving on is the Taycan and the BMW i4. I think the i4 is versatile. It's a good one, and the Taycan, I'm gonna say, joins the i4 in those high ranks. The i4 is slightly better, but I think both of them deserve that versatile rank. Moving on to Legends, the Bentley Flying Spur. Ooh, you know, back in the day, I used to rate the car a little bit. I used to put it in the average rank because there weren't a lot of, you know, saloon, medium ground clearance, 4-drive Legends. Now there are more, right? Now there's a Cadillac from American Overdrive that handles a little bit better. So I'm going to bump it down to the Flying Spur is severely underperforming. It'll be a pretty decent Epic though, I'll be honest. It's a 79 or 78. Porsche Panamera, again, yeah, not much to say about that. 545, same thing. Maybe it's a little bit too mean to put these two cars here. Maybe I could bump up the BMW to require some criteria, right? It's got a low 0 to 60. If you can fully upgrade that Legend, it will get you value. The problem is fully upgrading a freaking Legend. The last two though, the Taycan Turbo remains as highly versatile, and the Panamera Turbo is versatile. But anyway, guys, that is my opinion on the pack. Let me know down in the comments below if it's worth opening or not. For me, I'm not going to open it, mainly because I am lucky to say that I have every single car on the top ranks, and I have most cars on the second rank. The only car that I'm missing out on the versatile rank is the BMW i4, and I have everything else. So there's really no point for me to open this pack anymore. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Hope you guys have a great day, but stay safe, wash your hands. I'm going to go conk out and go to sleep. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville Pontiac. Hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville
Atlantic.
Blonde hair, don't care.